Hi you guys, welcome back to another first impression video. This is the video series where I take a look at an entire sewing pattern collection and review each and every pattern for fit, for fabrication. We'll look at sizing and notions, and we'll just analyze each pattern together. This one is for the Butterick Spring Collection. Starting off here with a Butterick dress with belt, sleeve, and length variations. Mid-knee or mid-calf dress sewing pattern, pointed collar, concealed button placket, gathers at waist, darted bodice, side seam pockets. View A has drop shoulder and is sleeveless with bias tape at armhole. View B has short sleeves with top stitching. Sizing comes in 6 to 14 and then 16 to 24. Let's take a look. They made it out of, again, not the best fabric. I don't know. Sometimes I just think whenever they're shopping for fabrics, I don't know what they're thinking about. This looks to be some sort of like, I don't know, satin, obviously. Maybe some kind of organza type of thing. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to go for springtime wedding or wedding events or springtime events. I don't know. This one seems to be a little bit more like the design was intended. I don't know. It just seems so casual. But I guess casual and dressy fabrics is kind of fun. I don't know. A collared dress to like a cocktail, I don't know, a collared cocktail party? Cocktail dress? I don't know. That just feels a little bit funky to me. I do like whatever's happening here is fun. I guess it's just a whole bunch of top stitching. They did it to the band, the armband too. Isn't that what like obi sashes, isn't that how they're constructed as well? Not a lot of pictures. They're recommending Cotton Blends Mikado. So that could be what the blue is. I would be shocked if they spent that much money on a sample, but who knows? Poplin and sateen. For sure the Cotton Blends, Poplin, sateen is feeling a little bit more appropriate to me. Also chambray. Also, honestly, like any mid-weight linen would be good. I don't know. Yeah, something with a little bit of structure to it, but it doesn't have to be super heavy. You do need some interfacing. You'll need buttons, a covered buckle kit for eyelets for the belt, and then a package of bias tape for that armhole. So not the cheapest in terms of all of these notions. Sizing wise, we are looking at 2 inches of ease in the bust. Hers looks a little bit bigger than that, don't y'all think? Hers is looking like 4 inches of ease in the bust. And then in the waist, they are giving, wait, I lied. It is 4 inches. It's 3.5 inches of ease. I was looking at the wrong number. And then the waist is 4 inches as well. So yeah, that makes sense to what we're seeing here in the pictures. There is a lot of room here. The skirt is gathered, but you can see this belt is tucked in or tucking in quite a bit of fabric. Fit-wise, I'm getting, this doesn't seem right to me, how the skirt seam is below the belt. If the belt is at the natural waist, then the skirt seam should also be at the natural waist. I don't mind that it's like pinching and tucking in some of the bodice fabric, but I do mind the length of it, I guess. Also, I was noticing on the front, I thought I noticed something on the front, but I don't see it now. So maybe it was just more of the waist seam thing happening. This covered button placket is a really nice, expensive looking detail. But yeah, fit-wise, I just think it's pretty common for them to have a significant amount of length issues, in addition to circumference issues, but length issues as well. So this one just seems to have too long of a bodice, but that's a super easy fix. You guys can manage that, I know it. All right, next up we've got, this is a Mrs. and women's dress in 2 lengths with petite lines. Interesting. So it's a petite pattern in the sizing of misses and women's. I don't know that we've ever seen that before. Sizing is 10 to 18 and then 20 to 28. Now, don't be fooled by seeing the numbers 10 to 18, 20 to 28 and think that that size is 10 to 28. That's not how it works. A 20 women's is different than a 20 misses. Mostly bust cup size would be different. That's where you'll see the biggest change. So if you're a size, I'm a 22 in misses, I am not a 22 in women's. You can make them work, but you'd have to do some alterations that you're probably not used to doing. So if you're an in-betweenie, which is what I call myself, which would be, in this case, 20 to 24 or 6 in the misses, I don't think the women's goes smaller than 20. So an in-betweenie in between these two, or on the larger side of the women's range, then this pattern sizing is not for you. I kind of don't love when they combine them. I wish we could just get a full range of misses and a full range of women's. Like, we're already part of the way there, so let's just keep it going, but I don't understand how all of that works. But the fact that you can do a petite misses and a petite women's with this, we were just talking about vertical adjustments, that is really interesting to me. Petite doesn't mean small size. Petite refers more to length than anything. Okay, fitted and lined sleeveless dress. I'm surprised it's lined. Have square neckline, front button opening, front and back darts, length variations, view A has pockets. I think I'm shocked to hear that it's lined because I thought this was denim, I guess. I don't know. But it's definitely leaning toward kind of a Chanel type vibe, which I guess that never goes away, right? They are constantly putting Chanel type patterns in here, but this one is really, really sweet. I do love the square neckline combined with the kind of like the sleeve ending at the very, very end of your shoulder. I think that, I don't know, that's just a really beautiful look on a woman. The buttons down the front, this is where you're gonna have to pay the most attention to fit. Like, this one here is a skosh off, and you can tell because we have a little bit of pulling here and here, and then this wants to gape. So be very, very careful with that. In fact, her same fourth button is also potentially causing some issues. So just pay very, very close attention to that, or swap it out for, I mean, you could do a fake button placket up here and then do a zipper up the back. That way you get the look, but this doesn't move. I kind of don't hate that idea. I think we have a waist seam here, bust darts, waist darts, and then this little pocket or no pocket. It is just a classic little look. I do love that about it. I would make mine shorter, but that's just me. Lengthwise, this seems to hit just about where it should. Again, we've got back darts here. I think, are those neck darts too? And then some waist darts in the skirt as well. Okay, now hers does not quite fit through the length of the bodice, and you can tell because there's a little bit of bubbling here. This boucle fabric should not have to do that. So hers might be just a little bit too long, just the littlest bit. And honestly, it's probably just a difference between it not being made for her, being made for a fit model instead. But yeah, that does look really, really good. I almost wish they would have mimicked the neckline in the front. You could do that. You could cut that away. That's not that big of a deal. But fabric-wise, cotton blends, linen, tweeds, and wool blends. Yeah, again, with the cotton blends, even the linen really, like, are we going to line that? That just removes the breathability, the easy breeziness of it. I think that this was designed for itchy, scratchy fabrics that want to be lined. You could remove the lining and switch everything out to a facing. That's not super hard. But it is very much a Vogue type of construction for a Butterick type of price. So that's good. You'll need these buttons now. Oh, and also a sew-on snap. I don't know where the snap goes, but these bigger buttons, the 1-inch buttons, especially ones that look expensive and not cheap like plastic, they are going to be pretty expensive. So factor that into the fabric that you're buying as well to determine, you know, how pricey this thing. It could get pricey. And then fit wise, we are looking at, wow, they're saying 4 inches in the bust, 2 3/4 in the waist, and then 3 and something in the hip. 4 in the bust feels like a lot. I don't feel like she has 4 in the bust, that's for sure. So yeah, definitely maybe muslin the bodice. Maybe that's my best advice. Or sometimes when a garment is fully lined, I will use the lining as the muslin. Little quick tip there to save you guys a little bit of money on muslin fabric. But yeah, I'm getting more like 2 inches here, 3 inches here, and then 3 to 4 in the hip is kind of where I would want to land. But yeah, I think a 4-inch bust would just be too oversized. I don't think it would look right. The proportions would be off. Okay, now we have a Katherine Tilton top. Very always, I mean, her brand is very much her brand. She loves a color block situation. She loves an asymmetrical situation. That's how you can pretty much tell her stuff from anyone else's. All the sizes are in one, extra small to 2X. It is a knit tunic. She also loves a tunic. Very loose fitting knit tunic, patterns, 3 panels in the front and back, 2-piece, 3/4 length sleeves, a classic neckband finish. View A has pockets, view B is two-tone and has optional hand stitch seams. Oh yeah, she also loves a hand stitched pick stitch moment. So yeah, I think that her fans, you know, people who buy her patterns are very specific type of people. I've made one of her patterns before and I did love it. I just removed a lot of the kitschy stuff. Like I didn't do the color blocking. I didn't do the pick stitching. It's actually a pattern that looks kind of a lot like this, to be honest. Yeah, it's just kind of stuck in like Cato's 1990. You know, when you walked into a Cato store in 1990, it's a little bit like that. This pattern especially. Lots of pictures though. Thanks for that. All right, moderate stretch knits, 35% cross grain. Thank you so much for putting that on the back of the envelope. We will see if it's just this pattern or if they're starting to do that on the regular. That would be so helpful. Cotton blend knits, interlock jersey, ponte, yeah, all of that kind of stuff. All you need for this is a little bit of stay tape for your shoulder seam. So honestly, a really inexpensive little tunic top. You could definitely lengthen it to a dress. It wouldn't be that much more fabric, maybe another ½ yard. And then fit-wise, it's very roomy. So 10 inches in the bust is what we have. That's what we're starting with. So if you like your stuff a little bit less roomy, you could definitely size down 1 or 2 and you'd have plenty of wiggle room. Each size, from what I'm seeing here, is 2 inches. So it would be 10 inches for true to size, 8 inches for 1 size down, 6 inches for 2 sizes down, so on and so forth. Next up is, okay, so Simplicity released a pattern very, very similar to this. They do have different in-house designers over at Simplicity Corporate. So maybe it's just very trendy and everybody's kind of jumping on the board here, jumping on the bandwagon. This is the vest and pants. I want to say the Simplicity one was as well. Sizing is 8 to 16 and then 18 to 26. Fitted line vest sewing pattern has button front closure, decorative welts, and back vent. High-rise pants have flared legs, stitched front crease, fly zipper, contour waistband with hook and bar closure. Okay, so we have a collarless vest with shoulder pads. Some of those like fancy big gold buttons again. welt pockets with this button. Now, I don't know if these are actually functional pockets or if this is just like a decorative situation. I don't know for either one, if they're actually functioning or not. The pants do have a fly zip closure. They do seem to be hitting at the natural waist, which honestly means you would need less of a contoured waistband. So if they're giving you quite a contoured waistband, you might want to convert that to a straight waistband. But you do get the creased center front of the pant, and they flare out to a flare leg, which is really nice. Like, the proportions on this are so good. Yeah, I feel like lengthwise, this one, I want this button, this whole shaping on the side seam to be a skosh higher. Can you see how hers is like the smallest part is like in between these two buttons? That's kind of what I want for this. I want to bring it up a little bit, but let's see what kind of photos we get. Anything other than that? Okay, so back is, oh boy, you cut on the center back. There's a seam there. And then you also get this little vent. So that's good. Fit on the pants in the back is questionable. I don't love that fold there. And I can't see anything else that's happening. So that just makes me think it's just a little bit long in the inseam, right? Like, you'd want to pinch that out and that would come out of the inseam, I think. And that's it for photos. Okay, great. So linen blends, Ponte knit. Yeah, okay. Stretch crepe is probably what the model's wearing. And then stretch wovens like sateen, stretch twill, things like that. So they're definitely going for a suiting vibe here, like a cool girl's take on a business suit. Lining fabric. Okay, then you need all those buttons. Here are the shoulder pads, and then you need a zipper and a hook and bar. So again, all of this adds up. You do also need lining fabric. You also need lightweight fusible. So this can be a pretty pricey project. Fit-wise, we've got 3.5 inches in the bust. That makes sense for something that fits like this does. You don't want it to be, I mean, you could make it super, super tight fitting, close fitting, but it doesn't have to be. 6 inches in the waist of the top, that feels like a lot. I'd want to, gosh, maybe get that down to 4, maybe. And then the waist on the pants have 1 inch of ease, that's appropriate. And the hip has 2 inches of ease. So if you're using a stretch woven, anything with a little bit of give to it, that makes sense on the pants. If it doesn't have any stretch to it, you might want to get like 3 or 4 inches so you can just sit down and feel comfortable. We never got a picture of the waistband, so I can't speak on that very much. Okay, next is, oh my goodness, another tiered gathered skirt. This is starting to feel like the epidemic of the pull-on pant that we went through a few years ago. Like, every season, there's another gathered skirt showing up on here. 4 to 12 and 14 to 22. You probably have one of these in your stash already. Full tiered skirt sewing patterns has invisible side zipper, waistband with hook and bar closure, and stitched hem. View B has purchased trim. Okay, maybe the trim is a new addition, but they didn't even make the sample out of that. Like, that's the unique part. Like, make the sample out of that. But whatever, they just put it with like a little, maybe like a tank toppy knit type of thing, a little sandal, basket bag, and that's it. This one seems to have like top stitched eyelet trim on it, and also an additional tier, or this one broken up into 2 tiers. There's the back. It is very gathery. There's a lot of fabric. I would be interested to see how much is there. Skirt A, 4 yards, and skirt B is 6 1/8. Yeah, 6 1/8. That's a lot of fabric, especially 45 and 60 are the same. What I find, I think I need to make a whole separate video about these tiered skirts because they aren't using the width of fabric on them, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. it's very wasteful. So if you know what I'm talking about, you've made one of these before, you realize, like, I'm just cutting out a bunch of rectangles and I'm cutting them shorter than the width of fabric just to sew them all together into one giant, like, donut. Why am I not using the width of fold to just determine some length of this tier and then sewing that into a donut? Do you know what I mean? If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'll make a video and explain what I'm talking about. Okay, cotton types, linen blends, poplin, shantung, taffeta. Yeah, anything, honestly, just about anything under the sun this can be made from. You just want to make sure it gathers really well. So you wouldn't want to go too heavyweight, but you can go pretty structured. Similarly, you can go lighter weight than some of these. Like a rayon poplin or something like that would do really well. Just know that it's going to fall in on your body a little bit more. It's not going to stand away from your body as much. Okay, so invisible zipper, 2 hook and bars, and then that 15 yards of trim. So that's going to add up. Even if you got your fabric, best case scenario, $5 a yard, some basic quilting cotton, this is going to be $2 or $3 a yard. Dang. You'd have to try and find some like mega deal maybe on Amazon coming from on the other side of the world. But the finished garment measurements of the waist are going to be 1 inch. So again, that makes sense. And then the rest of them are kind of negligible. Okay, now, are you kidding me? This versus this? Okay, if you say so. Mrs. Pattern, Mrs. Top with belt and pants. 6 to 14, 16 to 24, semi-fitted lined top sewing patterns, so they're both lined. This one has princess seams, okay, button front opening and matching belt, wide leg pants have invisible side zipper. I mean, they are very, very similar. This one just doesn't have, this one has a sleeve, basically, a grown-on sleeve. It does have the princess seam that goes from the top of the shoulder, like middle of the shoulder, all the way down. Very flattering. Big, super thick belt on this one. I actually kind of really dig that. And then again, these gold shank buttons. And then we've got our pants that are a little looser fitting than the other ones, but still have a zip fly. Yeah, this one, they feel, honestly, they feel the same. Like I'd wear them to the same places, I think. Wouldn't you? I don't know. Yeah. It's the same person that's attracted to these, right? It's not really attracting a different demographic. I don't know. Okay, well, either way, here we are. There's the back. It doesn't have a vent like the other one. Okay. Construction on this seems a little lackluster. Like you can see that bubble there. That's really not great. The fit seems to be fine. Again, they're, nipping and tucking with that belt. That's fine. That's what it's for. The crotch seam on this one seems pretty decent. But again, it's a wider leg, looser fitting pant, so that's easier to fit than the other one. Crepe, jacquard, linen blends, and wool suiting. Huh. Lining fabric, belting, and then interfacing. Also, you're going to need your lining, which they don't mention up here. Oh, here they are. Just kidding. Lining fabric. A whole bunch of buttons, pronged buckle. Yeah, that belt is going to be kind of pricey with the leather backing and the 3-inch buckle and the eyelets, plus the tool to make the eyelets. So the belt can be pretty pricey. But it did look really smart. So it looked well made and well constructed. So that's good. Okay. Fit-wise, we've got 4 inches in the bust again, but this one looks like 4 inches. Do you see how much room there is there? Whereas the other one just didn't have that. So this does feel like there are 4 inches on her. You could go down to 3, maybe even 2 if you wanted it to be super fitted. They did call it semi-fitted, so that would fall into 3 or 4 inch range. The waist is, 5 inches in the waist of the top, and then 2 inches in the waist of the pant. And then pretty roomy in the hip as well, 6 inches. So just a little bit roomier all over, this one is. Okay, next we have 2 pants and 2 links and a tie belt. Oh boy. Okay. 8 to 16, 18 to 26. Wide leg pants sewing patterns have side, front, and back seaming. Side, front, and back seaming. You can't even see that on hers. Front pockets, belt carriers, fly front zipper with hook and bar closure, and back welt pockets. View A has wide stitched hem. View B has matching tie belt. Pants sit 1 inch below the waist. So that's whenever you need a contoured waistband. 1 inch below the waist is a little... I don't think this is 1 inch. You can see the smallest part of her body is right here. This is easily 3 inches. It should be right here, a mid-rise, where this is feeling a little bit more like a low-rise. I think they're just too big on her. But other than that, I mean, they look pretty good. It's just whenever they hang down this low on her hip, then also the length is affected. So I don't think they're meant to hit here. I think they're supposed to hit up here somewhere. But everything else about the fit on her looks really good. Show us the back. Thank you. Yeah, the back looks pretty decent as well. They did take the belt off. Thanks for doing that. But yeah, see how it's dipping? That's making me a little... There's also no waistband. Am I seeing that correctly? I'll look at the line drawings again. But yeah, I just want to pull these up a little bit. Then again, if I did that, I'm not sure that the crotch would fit very well. So just check your rise. Check the rise of them before you make them. But all the stitching is really nice. They look like a very expensive, like Banana Republic pant. Denim, linen is what I was thinking. Sateen and twill for a little bit more heavyweight situation. A zipper and a hook and bar is all you need, so pretty inexpensive in Notions land. Fit-wise, they're only giving us the hip, which is about 6 inches. They're not giving us the waist, maybe because it's not sitting at your true waist, so they don't want to throw people off by that. I don't know. But I'm thinking this is not a waistband. I think that there's a facing and then there's some top stitching. So that's a nice slimming, like not bulky way of doing waistbands. I kind of like that. All right, we have our first retro Butterick. This is from the 80s, Mrs. Jumpsuit, dress and sash. Oh, sorry. 6 to 14 and 16 to 24 on the sizing. Very loose fitting, straight legged jumpsuit and dress below mid knee or in evening length with front hemline. Slit has shawl collar, front and back stitched pleats. Waist pleats, front zipper closing at waist, side seam pockets, purchase shoulder pads. Top stitch trim. View A and C have drop shoulders, full length tapered sleeves. View B, D, and E, extended armholes. Self sash has shaped ends. Whew, okay, that's a long description for a Delta. Wasn't that her name? Delta Burke? Why is this like, she must have worn this in some sort of promo or something that I just correlate with her so much. But you've got your shawl collar, 3 darts that kind of release into this loose fitting like sack kinda, and then you use the tie belt with the little pointed ends to bring it all in. There are shoulder pads in here. You also have the jumpsuit option. So yeah, very, very much 80s. We'll look at these in the bigger pictures here in a second. But soft fabrics such as challis, crepe, crepe de chine, pongee, you don't see that very often, silk, tissue fail, and wool crepe. Okay, yeah, but also like cotton blends, linen. I think you can go anything like light to mid-weight with not a lot of structure. You got to have it be a little bit drapey because it's so loose fitting. You don't want it to look literally like a potato sack. You'll need some shoulder pads, a zipper, and hook and eyes. And then fit-wise, we're not going to get those on here. So You'll have to buy the pattern. You'll have to buy the pattern and then figure out your sizing after that. I know. I know. This is what it looks like line drawing wise. So it's a very specific look. It can definitely look kind of like spacesuity. I do adore this though. This with the combination of the V-neck. Who's wearing that? Is she the one that's hiding? No, oh, her. Oh, okay. I'd bring it up. This is the evening length one. I'd make that shorter. I would do this to this. But then is your coochie hanging out? I mean, maybe. Maybe a smaller version. Like this one just has the squared off end with the V opening. Maybe take this and make it a little tulip. I think that would be really sweet. But yeah, fabrication is going to be everything on this. I think if you didn't do it in a solid, you would be doing yourself some favors. It would look a little less spacesuit. Okay, this is the Palmer Pletsch pattern for this collection. If you're not familiar, Palmer Pletsch does the tissue fitting method. So they will teach you how to fit the pattern, the tissue, using the tissue, fit that onto you, make adjustments using lines that are provided on the pattern pieces. Typically, their patterns are a pretty basic item so that you can really spend your time on fit and there's not a lot of like frou-frou details. So, sizing is 8 to 16 and 18 to 26. Jacket sewing patterns have shawl collar, long sleeves with slit, shaped hem, optional shoulder pads. View B has front button opening with patch pocket flaps. Designed for fabrics, they're putting this in the listing, such as the description, such as ponte, double knit, and boiled wool. Okay, so we have your pretty typical blazer, but it has that rounded shawl collar, much easier to sew than a notched collar. We've got princess seams that go underneath this pocket, this top stitched pocket. Two-piece sleeve with slit opening, no lining. You can see that in there. And then this is what it looks like unbuttoned. I guess you could make it so it doesn't have buttons as well. But there's definitely shoulder pads in here, and the fit should be spot on, impeccable, if you're following their system. Yep, it really does. Everything looks great. There's not a single thing I have to say about this. Fit looks awesome, like it was made for her. Okay, boiled wool, double face knits, jacquard knit, ponte knit. So they are calling for thicker, more structured fabrics, and even sweatery type fabrics. That's so interesting. So it's not a typical blazer where you're pulling out your suiting fabrics, your gabardine, your twill. I guess you could, but instead they're going for more of that soft blazery feel that's a little bit more like a sweatshirt than it is a blazer. A pair of shoulder pads, and then view B has the buttons, but view A does not. And then finished garment wise, or the fitting wise, we have 3 inches of ease in the bust and 6, 7 in the waist. 7 in the waist seems odd. She doesn't have 7 in the waist. That's for sure. Maybe 4. So I don't know what that's about, but that's what the tissue fitting is for. So you can use their system and figure that out. Okay, next we have a Mrs. and Women's knit jumpsuit. Boy, oh boy, what were they thinking either one of these days? Thank God they stuck this illustration on top, because this, what is happening with the fabric choices? 10 to 18 and then 20 to 28 women's. Okay, we talked about what that means earlier. Lounge jumpsuit, okay, have front button opening, round neckline, wide leg, side pockets, stitched hem and sleeve variations. View A jumpsuit has contrast. Why? Why? Oh, there's no need to do this. Like, no need at all. But it is looking like a loungy, comfortable romper. It could definitely be worn out. I mean, this is like, I would wear this 1,000,000%. So I don't hate the design. I hate the samples. I don't know why they did this. This is people are going to see this. They don't spend as much time looking through the actual pattern as I do, or you guys do with me. And they're just going to immediately discount it. They're just not even going to, like, their brains are just going to, like, reject it. Brains are like, no, abort. Do not spend any time on this. Do not buy this. But this version is really lovely and could definitely be worn out. There's no reason it couldn't. So I'm going to encourage you to think outside the box with this one. I've been thinking about doing a series where I take one pattern from each first impression video that just the sample wasn't done well, or the design looks hideous, or whatever it is, and finding real ready-to-wear options that redeem it, that, you know, you can see, okay, actually this pattern isn't terrible. This is a very good contender for that series. We have side seam pockets. They're like super low. Like, that's where her hand is. They need to be like way up here. I don't love a side seam pocket that just floats around anyways. And then that one being so low is just ridiculous. So just leave that off. Don't even add that. Save yourself the time and trouble. Look how much higher hers are. What is up with that? That also makes me think that the rise on this? No, the rise looks pretty decent. I don't know why they're so low. They should be way up here. Like a whole length difference. Maybe it was an error in sewing. I don't know. But yeah, the rise looks pretty good. The crotch curve looks pretty good. For what it is, you know, for a lounging type thing. It could be maybe a little bit longer in the rise, so you don't have that happening. But with this, I can't even look at this fabric. It's making me dizzy. So I don't want to look at that too closely. All right, stretch knits only, such as cotton knit, interlock, jerseys, rib knit, see stretch gauge. Where's the stretch gauge, guys? Where are we supposed to see that? We don't have a store to shop at anymore. Joann's is gone. So what? There's no stretch gauge for me to look at. So put the percentages in there. It's not that hard. I'm going to give you guys, I don't know, maybe, okay, so they knew, let's say they knew Joann was closing like the rest of us at the beginning of the year. Fine, I'll give you all of 2025, but come 2026, if the stretch percentages are not on the back of the envelopes, I'm going to have a real problem. Because we cannot go to the store and look at the stretch percentages and then buy our fabric anymore. We have to know what they are now to A, either shop our stash, or B, so that we can buy the pattern and the fabric at the same time. Everything arrives and we can work on our project. Like, it's kind of common sense. Anyways, okay, I'm done with that. All you need for this is 6 buttons, and honestly, it's probably going to be those like cheapy little plastic buttons. You don't need anything fancy for this. Fit-wise, it's probably going to be pretty roomy. Yeah, we've got, what is that, 5.5 inches in the bust, and almost 10 in the waist, and then almost 10 in the hip as well. So for this, the circumference isn't really going to matter a whole lot. You're going to want to pay a ton of attention to length. Like where they have the bust line marked, you're going to want to make sure that hits your bust line. Where you have the waistline marked, that hits your waistline. And then you're going to want to shape the crotch curve to your body. I think that is key on this. But I think because of that amount of ease, it doesn't have to be a knit. It absolutely doesn't have to be a knit. They also don't speak at all about them being 4-way stretch knits, which would mean they would stretch horizontally and vertically. So if they're not factoring in any vertical stretch on the fabric, then the pattern has been designed to not need stretch vertically. So even more so, you could use a woven fabric and be fine. I might just have to like buy this one and make it just to prove to you guys all that I'm saying. Which brings me to another point I've been considering. So they're having a sale right now. Some patterns are $2.99. It's not Simplicity. It's not Butterick. I don't know. I haven't looked around too much because I don't want to spoil any of the other first impressions. But $4.99 for one view feels like kind of a lot. I mean, I'm definitely not paying $15 for one pattern. The ones that have like multiple patterns in one, even like a top and a pant, is a little bit more forgiving to me because the pant can always be a short. But the ones that just have like one thing happening in them are starting to feel like a little bit like the value is not there. And so far, all of our patterns have only had one item per view. If they start to do away with the what were they called? Oh, wardrobe ones where you had like literally pants, a top, a dress, and a jacket, that will be really disappointing. Anyways, another high horse that I can come off of. We can look at this 1960s retro Butterick dress, jacket, capelet, and overskirt. Here is an example of good value, right? Lots of options. It's just not something I'm wearing, but you get the idea. So, sizing, we have 4 to 12 and 14 to 22. Fitted sheath dress sewing pattern with bateau neckline, like boat neck, long and skinny. And scooped back, has back zipper and knee-length slim skirt, slightly gathered at waistline seam, accented with piping. Lined boxy jacket, has 3/4 length dolman sleeve and stand collar. Gathered capelet, has tie ends with bow at the front neckline. Ruffled overskirt, cut of sheer fabric. Interesting. Ties on waistband with ties on with waistband extending into ties. Okay, genius. So you've got your basic little fitted sheath dress. This is the bateau neckline, but it scoops out in the back, scoops down in the back. Zipper, looks like a lap zipper. We've got some waist darts on the front and the back. We've got bust darts here, and then we've got a slight little gather into the waist seam where there's a little bit of piping. So many details. I think there's a little vent here. Then you can throw on your little capelet. How freaking cute is that? It actually kind of like folds over, like it has a collar. And then you tie it into the sweetest little bow. Love that. You also have this little jacket that has shoulder darts. It has a top seam for the sleeve because it's a dolman. So that's like winged, like bat wing. Think of it like that. And then a cute little stand collar. And then you have this sheer little other skirt with tiers that you throw on top of this. Somebody needs to make versions of this for their wedding, like their wedding weekend, and then like throughout the night, you like keep adding things to it. I don't know, like not your ceremony dress maybe, or maybe, I don't know, depending on like what kind of ceremony you're having, you could make this a pretty wedding dress. And then like, I don't know, part of the reception you wear the capelet, and then another part of the reception, or maybe this is what you wear at your ceremony, then you rip it off for the reception and also add, you know what I mean? Like you could have so many layers, so many fun different looks all night long based from one pattern. That's so sweet. We get a real sample of just the back, right? Tell me it's just the back. Just the back. I don't know. They did that earlier with the simplicity patterns. They make an entire sample and then only photograph her from the back. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But you can see there's that little piping, such a cute detail. Fits really beautifully through here, through everywhere really. This one looks really nice. Oh, there is no pleat there, so just keep that in mind. There's the back of the jacket. A little bit bigger in the jacket, but still not terrible, even in this brocade fabric. Here is, what is this? Another version? This fitting is a little less good. I don't know what that is. Maybe the fabric was just harder to work with. I don't know why there's gathers on that dart. That makes no sense. Yeah. Why did they even include this one? This is the exact same as the first dress. Listen. Some things just cannot be explained. So they're calling for pretty dressy fabrics. Brocades, matelassé, satins, taffetas, velveteens. Capelet also in, and overskirt in sheer fabrics such as organzas and silk organdies. Lining fabric, fusible, blah, blah, blah. Okay, zipper, hook and eye, seam binding, and piping. And then fitting is going to be in the pattern. So, yeah, they're trying to make it pretty dressy, but I don't know. I just think it's such a fun little idea. Not my style at all, but for those of you that like this kind of stuff, I love that. Okay, and our last pattern is going to be this little family set of pajamas. Girls, boys, adults, shirts, shorts, and pants. Sizing is all in one. What does that mean? Oh, kids extra small to large, and then adults extra small to extra large. Is that what that means? Very loose fit shirt. Sewing patterns have collar, front chest pocket, short and long sleeve options, and stitched hems. Pull-on shorts and pants have elastic waist with drawstring and side pockets. I mean, again, this is another one of those things that are not ever redoing. Like, it's the same kind of pattern over and over again. This is one of the better ones I've seen from them in terms of like design. Like, it's very classic. With the notch collar with the piping and all the piping details on the pockets and the sleeves and the pant hems. Like, it's pretty cute. The fitting on her shorts is questionable, you know, but it's made for the whole family, so why does he look like a serial killer? Like, get away. Take your kids and run. So sorry, mister, but the hair is creeping me out. Okay, so I gotta move on. So yeah, that's it for Butterick Spring. Again, like I was saying, in terms of value, design, wearability, all of that, I'm really only seeing one pattern that I have to have. This could be a strong contender. Shift dresses are just not something I grab very often, but this one is really nice. So if I were going to make one, it would be that. I don't know. Would I wear it? Maybe, maybe not. And then this design and this design are very on trend right now. So we can make a case for that. But honestly, I think I prefer the Simplicity one. And then this guy. I probably will buy this and make it and show you guys how it can actually be cute in like real fabrics, not in whatever clown situation is happening here. But you guys let me know what you think of this collection in the comment section below. I'll be back with McCall's, I think it might be McCall's Summer, very, very soon. So check back for that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this collection, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye!